We'll have our keynote speaker, and while you're enjoying your dinner, our keynote speaker is going to share with us, how to win an election. Okay.
If you're a serious candidate and you mean that you want to win, then get involved in politics. However, if you're a casual drive-by and say, I want to put my name in just in case I get elected, do me a favor, get your name out of the race, because politics is a serious game. And in order to be in politics, you have to be 1, committed, 2, honest, and 3, you got to put this is a calling. This is a calling about serving people. This is a calling that it's needed. Being a politician and only having a name behind yourself and only going to meetings and not looking after your constituents, you're going to be 1 time, maybe 2 times wonder. If you look after your constituents and you serve them and you return their calls within 24 hours, you're going to be there for a long time. I've survived elections where we had a wave with us, and I survived elections where there was a wave against us. Matter of fact, when Ignatieff in 2011 had the election and we pretty well were wiped out, I got the highest plurality west of the Maritimes. So what I have to tell the new candidates, make peace with your family. Talk to your wife, talk to your mother, talk to your father, talk to your husband. Because if the family's not supportive of you, then you won't be successful. Get the family to be behind you. Get your children, get your husband, your wife to support you. Because when they support you and they believe in you, that's the first thing that's going to happen. If your family does not believe in you, then you shouldn't be running. You shouldn't be a candidate. If the family is supportive of you, well, number 1, you're going to get their votes. And number 2, when you come home late at night and you're tired, you're not going to get an earful from the husband or the wife while you're running. You're not going to get an earful that what you're doing is not what they're looking for. The other thing you need to do is to make sure that you're out there every single day. Now, it depends where you're running, but you can use something like 14 to 16 hours. It's very important that you reach out to the voter. Because if you're up there in the morning and, this is the only time that the voter sees you, he or she will remember when they go to vote that they saw you at a bus stop at 7 o'clock in the morning during the rain or during the cold. Do not bother people between 9 and 10. Do not start door knocking until 10 o'clock in the morning, because some people sleep. People are saying to me, look, why would I need to door knock during the day? There's nobody home. So I asked him, well, what do you think there's nobody home means? Well, we only get 10-20% of the people at home. And I look at them and I said, how much did you win by? 10%. Well, that's the 10% that you meant during the day that they were not home. So elections are very important. There's no such thing I'm going to canvass in the evening. There's no such thing I'm not canvassing during the day because there's nobody home. You canvass if you're the candidate all day. Now, I've seen candidates go at the door and they got a team of people with them. You're wasting resources. For example, there was a candidate that was running recently, and I met him on a major street in Toronto, and he had 2 people at the door with him, and 2 people were waiting up the street in order for him to finish and catch up with him. That's a waste of manpower. If you got 5 people with you, you don't need to have more than 1 person with you. You don't need to show you're important, that you're the candidate. Anybody can be the candidate. What you need to do is go at the door and ask for their support. Ask for their support and say, I am so-and-so, I'm running for such and such a party, I'm running for such a, if you're running municipally for such a ward, I'm looking to get your support. Give them the 30-second sale pitch. You're there to sell yourself. You're actually doing a job interview, nothing else. You are trying to qualify and you're trying to get that person's support in order to vote for you at the upcoming election. That is your job interview. If somebody says to you, please come inside, I want to talk to you, I say to you, once you step through that door, number 1, you don't know what's waiting for you inside. Number 2, you're wasting your time. If a candidate comes along and I'm not supporting that individual, I'll say, come inside, let's have some coffee. What am I doing to him or her? I'm burning daylight. I'm slowing them down. I'm not allowing them to canvass. The more houses you knock on, the more people see you, the more people remember what your face looks like if you're a candidate, and they will remember you when they go to vote. Now, if somebody wants to talk issues at the door, spend a minute to talk about issues, and then say, can I call you back later tonight? Can I come back tonight when we finish canvassing to sit down, have a cup of coffee with you, and to discuss issues? After 9:30, the sun sets down. People don't expect you to be at their door. However, if somebody wants to talk policy, go to their house at 9 o'clock, 9:30. Promise that you call them at night, but make sure that you return their phone call. The volunteers that you have with you, they're the most precious commodity. The people that put up your signs, the people that drop your literature, the people that make your phone calls. If you're a candidate and you got a campaign office, when you return from canvassing, doesn't matter how angry you are, doesn't matter how hungry you are, doesn't matter how tired you are. You go to your volunteers and you say thank you. And you say, keep saying thank you. Because those volunteers don't need to be there. They're there because either they believe in the party or they believe in you. If they believe in you, say thank you. It's very important that you say thank you to your volunteers. And it's very important that what you ask a volunteer to do, that you should be willing to do yourself. Many a times I've jumped at the back of a truck and said, let's go put up signs. There's nothing more important than the volunteer to have you come along with him or her when they're putting up signs. There's nothing more important to the volunteer when you ask them to go to drop literature, to distribute literature, that you're also there with them. There's nothing more important than when you see a volunteer on the phone and you're coming in saying, thanks very much, I really appreciate you being here. Nothing more important. Those volunteers are precious. They're doing it because they believe in you. They're doing it because they believe in the party that you're running for, or they're doing it because they believe in a cause. And you got to thank them and keep thanking them. You got to be humble. And I'm going to go back to 1987. I was running provincially in Riverdale, downtown Toronto, which today Danforth Broadview today, or Toronto Danforth. And I thought that I was going to win, and I was really cocky. And on election day, I was inviting people, the NDP. I said, you can come to our victory party tonight. Well, we didn't win. So I've learned the hard way what humble is. Please and thank you. Please, can I have your support? Thank you for your support. Please, can you come and volunteer? Thank you for volunteering. Can I have your donation, please? That is very important. And thank you for donating. One of the things that a lot of candidates do not do is they don't spend adequate time in order to fundraise. If you are a money-making machine, and I mean like you got friends that will donate to you, that's fine. If you do not have that, you got to spend some time on the phone asking people for donations. To run a campaign, provincially or federally, takes anywhere between 75 to 80,000. To run a campaign municipally, I know in the city of Toronto is around the 40,000 mark. Now in Markham or Richmond Hill could be a little less. You got to raise that money. And once you raise that money, make sure that you do not get into trouble by raising the money. Make sure that you do it legitimately. Make sure that you send thank you notes out. The other thing that it also takes is a good website. Have a website where people can go on your website and look at the issues. You don't have to put a lot of stuff. You can put issues, you can put volunteer, you can put contact us, and also you can put if they want to make a donation. If people are making a donation, make sure that it's bulletproof. So when somebody goes on the donation form, nobody can get that information and cause you any grief. And the most important thing is that you got to door knock. Keep door knocking and door knocking. Now, we have some candidates in the room, we also have some aspiring candidates. Let's say it's 7 o'clock and you knock at a guy's house. And when you knock at the person's house, it says, you've seen me, I'm having dinner, why are you bothering me? Can anybody want to tell me what the answer will be? Castor, what would you say? Castor, what would you say to somebody that you knocked at the door and it's 7 o'clock and she or he's having dinner and they say, I'm having dinner? What would you say to them?
I'll come back later.
That's a good one. Would you apologize for knocking at their door?
Yes.
No, you shouldn't.
Okay.
You're not there to apologize. You're there to get their vote. If you're apologizing, guess what? I've seen a candidate and the guy says, I'm sorry that I'm knocking at your door. And the guy says, if you're sorry, then why the hell are you here? One of the things that you can say is, listen, I can come back later. It smells good. Congratulations to the person that cooked it. But I got a quick question for you. Can I count on your support? And then move on. Also make sure that when you're canvassing, you get the information. I've seen a lot of candidates knock at the door and say, "Can I count on your support?" Yes, you can. They mark it off and they walk out. On election day, you got to get them to come out and vote. So you got two choices. Either call them up to go out to vote, or go and knock at the door to get them out to vote. So when you say thank you and you moved on, you didn't check their information like their phone number, you did a disservice to you. Make sure that the person you knock on, you got the right person, the right credentials, like the information on the phone and everything else, so on election day, your campaign team can call them to get out. So, the last thing that I'm going to cover is the Get the Vote Out, GTVO as they call it these days. We used to call it election day. So a campaign, you need to have an election manager, an office manager, the candidate. And on election day, you have to have what it's called an election day chair. Or your campaign manager can be your election day chair. My campaigns, I have my wife, which is my office manager. I used to have a person that used to work for me, unfortunately she's passed on a couple of years back. They used to be my campaign manager. And then my daughters were the ones that were getting the vote out for me along with my wife. So on election night, before the election, they will all come out, start spreading out the maps and see who they're going to put out to what place in order to get the vote out. It's very important that whoever does the vote getting out on election day, even the candidate, should be door knocking to get the vote out. You got to reach, once you identify who your supporters are. So when you're canvassing, you identify who your supporters are. When you're form canvassing, you're identifying who your supporters are. Once you identify these people, on election day, it's very important that you get them out to vote. You identify the vote and you say, okay, they're going to go out and vote for me on election day. Well, number one, some people forget it's election day. Number two, they don't really care about going out. Number three, it's your job, the campaign team, to get the vote out. GTVO. You're going to be on television that night? That you want? Get the vote out. So, you go knock at their door, you say, please come out to vote. Well, I'm tired, I don't have a ride. You should offer them a ride. Centrally, in the campaign office, you should have a couple of people that are drivers, you call them up, they go out to drive. So, on election night, if you're successful, you will have a party and you have elected. Now, that is you as a candidate. Let's talk about the campaign structure. Campaign structure takes a couple of different modes. Number one, you got the candidate and she or she is outdoor knocking. And they got to be outdoor knocking all day. Number two, you got to have a campaign manager. Somebody that runs the show. Somebody that makes the hard decisions. What people do, what people don't do. Somebody that steers the campaign. Somebody that makes the campaign flow. Somebody that makes sure that all the I's are crossed and all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. That's the campaign manager. If you're the candidate and you have a good campaign manager that you trust, you're good. If you don't have a campaign manager that you trust and you don't think the campaign manager is doing you good, then get somebody that can do the job. There's a lot of candidates that end up being their own campaign managers. That's not something that I will encourage. But I've done it. I've done it myself. The campaign manager is the person that decides when the signs go up, what signs to buy, what literature to put together, and the people on the phone, and what the scripts are and all that stuff. That's the campaign manager. He or she overlooks the campaign in total. Then there's other volunteers, people that are phone, they look after the phone canvassing. That's, you might have a person that looks after the phone canvassing, or the office manager is the person that looks at it. An office manager is the person that runs the office. Everybody that comes in, everybody that goes out, everybody that's given literature to go and distribute, that's the office manager. If you have a good office manager, then they decide when are people going to go out and canvass, where they're going to canvass, and where they're going to phone. Now imagine one thing. You're the candidate and you're canvassing in the northwest part of the area. And the office manager is aware of this. And people are coming in to volunteer. And she sends these people in the same area that you are. And she or he then allows people to phone the same area that you're canvassing. That's a little bit overdone, isn't it? You got the candidate at the door, you got a canvas team there, and you got the phone canvas team happening in the same area. So that's where the office manager is going to have to balance. If a candidate is in one area, you send other volunteers to canvass in another area. If the volunteers are canvassing in another area, you put the phone canvas in another area. So the more places that you're at, the more people think that you got a great team. With a team of about 5 or 6 people, you can make it sound a lot. So do not overspend. What the moral is, do not send people in the same area doing the same thing or phone calling in the same area the same day. It also takes volunteers, people door knocking. If you got people that are good on their door, people that can speak the language, be it Chinese, be it Greek, Italian, whatever else, send them out to door knock. I had a person that says, I can only speak one language. So we found a building that had a large population of his ethnicity. We marked them and we sent them out. He came back 100%. There's no such thing that you don't encourage anybody. I don't care how old they are. I don't care how young they are. I don't care how good their English is. I don't care how bad, whatever language is. So you encourage everybody to come out. So a campaign has the form of putting up signs. So you need a sign crew to go put up your signs. It's very important that you follow the rules of the city when you're putting up your signs. In Toronto, you can't put signs on public places. They'll take them down, they'll charge you, and it will count towards your budget. You got a budget, you know, that you can only spend so much that we talked about. So make sure that your signs are going to the right place. Make sure that you don't put 30 signs outside one house. Somebody driving by sees 1 or 2 signs, that's fine. You don't have to have 30 signs. I was driving down Markham the other day, south of Ellesmere, and the corner lot was empty, and I've seen it put up 50 signs. Whoa, buddy, 1, 2, 3, I can see them, I can see what your name is. Putting up 10 large signs at a corner lot which is empty, and 40 small ones, you're wasting your signs. Understand the logistics about putting up signs. If you are in a corner house and you got large signs, you put up a large sign. If you're in a major thoroughfare, like going north on Warden, south of Ellesmere, going along Huntingwood, in those streets that you got a lot of visible traffic, you put up large signs. You don't put up small signs. In our subdivisions, I'm not sure about Markham, I don't think you can put signs in the back of fences, correct? You can. In Toronto, you can. So go get the houses that got back fences on major streets, like Kennedy, like Warden. Knock on the front door and say, can I put up a sign? If a person says, well, I don't want a sign, say, can we put up a sign in the backyard? Nobody will know that you got a thing there. So put up a sign on the wooden fence. If a person do not want you to put up a sign on the fence, then put it on stakes or put it on rebar and put your sign up right up against the house. Make sure that it's appropriate, make sure that you follow the bylaws, and make sure that your signs are strategically placed. Do not put 10 or 20 signs on one house. If it's a corner house, put a large sign if you got large signs, or 2 small signs. That's what you do. Phone canvassing is also important. You make sure that if you got a lot of Chinese or a lot of Greeks, a lot of Italians, a lot of Germans, if you have somebody that speaks the language, you get them in their own language. Call up and say, good evening, I'm so-and-so, I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so, can he or she count on your support? Be polite, have fun, and you get to the winner's circle. Fundraising. Federally, provincially, you can spend up to 70, 75, 80, depends the population. There's so much per person and everything else. Municipally, in Toronto, is around 40 to 45. Hey, Castro, how much is it in York Region for a councillor?
20-something?
20-something. So, and the maximum I think that you can raise municipally is $1,200 per person. So if you got 20 friends, there's your election. In the city of Toronto, it's about 40 to 45. If you got 30 friends at $1,200, there's your election. However, it has to be from a personal check, it cannot be from a business, and it cannot be from a business credit card. Lately in Toronto, we have third-party advertising, that's municipally. third-party people can actually take a run at the candidate and say he or she is good, or he or she should be supported. And there's rules and regulations. Follow the rules and the regulations. Make sure that you file your return when it's finished. Because if you don't file your return municipally, you are not allowed to run in the future. Federally and provincially, if you do not file your return, or you play silly buggers with the numbers, and they catch you, you can go to jail. So make sure that you follow the rules and the regulations.